The Liberal government is attempting to breathe life back into Canada's military and industrial base. Ottawa has announced a new defence investment agency with the goal of streamlining and speeding up the purchase of equipment to the Canadian military. It's a long-awaited and long-promised agency and comes as part of the Prime Minister's push for Canada to spend more on defence while relying less on the United States. The agency is mandated to work more closely with allies, including the UK, Australia and France, and will oversee contracts valued over $100 million. Stephen Fuhr is the Secretary of State for Defence Procurement and joins me live in studio this morning. Thanks for getting up on a Sunday and coming in. Appreciate it.
Good morning. It's a beautiful 24 degrees outside right now.
I know. It's not a terrible time. I know. You said when this was announced that the government never got it done because it's very, very difficult to do. What makes it so difficult to do, and how is this going to solve these issues?
I think the way this is designed is unique. No one's been able to do it this way. This agency has its own authority. It's got contracting authority. Mm-hmm. It's got its own resources and it's got its own people. There's been other kicks at the cat. I think the Conservatives tried to do something like this. They ended up with some sort of ADM secretariat within PSPC that didn't change really any structure, just added a piece to the puzzle with the legacy structure in place. And as a result, I think their defense spending fell below 1%. So this is uniquely different. It's structured in a way to succeed, and we're going to make it work.
One of the things that is often a big problem with defense procurement is the fight between, as you say, sort of the procurement arm of government and D&D, the national defense, and what the military want. How does that solve that kind of ongoing bun fight between different departments?
Well, we have D&D folks working in the DIA. Sure. So all these folks, we have people from ISED, we have people from D&D, we have people from PSPC, Coast Guard. We're all working together. So the relationship's a lot closer. The agency's solely focused on this. If you think about it, the legacy way of doing it, it was spread out. So, oversight was fragmented, duplication of effort. It's very difficult to believe that there wasn't duplication of effort with three large departments of this government working on the same project. So this thing is set up to succeed, and we're gonna make it work.
So you're only looking at projects over $100 million. What is first on the list?
For now.
First couple of things on the list?
For now. Submarines I was involved in that before this agency was stood up. That's on the list. There is a list of 5 or 6 things that we're going to work on right away. They're very late in the procurement process, so we're just going to try and they lacked funding, essentially, is what they lacked. So we're going to make sure that we get contracting authority and funding in place to get those things going. And then we'll port in procurements. Like, it's not like those departments are going to come in and just dump everything on our desk. We have to bring them in an orderly fashion so they transition in, and we'll do that over the coming months.
You say for now it's only $100 million. Does that mean you will take on smaller projects later?
We'll look at it because, this is I keep saying DPA because that's what we were calling it in the campaign. DIA, right now it's $100 million, so we can focus on the big ticket items. Version 2.0, or the final version, which will be 8 to 12 months from now, we'll reevaluate if that floor makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, we can change it.
Okay. You mentioned submarines. That is, I know, a big priority for the government. You, I think, are looking at 2 different options. How soon should we expect a decision on that point?
I want to move it as fast as it can move. I've talked to both contractors, and I've signaled to them that we want to move quickly on this. I think the public-facing timeline on this was contract award in 2028. I think we can do that a lot faster. This is going to come down to economic benefit to Canada, and they're both playing ball pretty substantially, so that's exciting for us. The Navy said both machines meet their high-level mandatory requirements, so that's good. Yeah. And both countries are interested in working with Canada, so I want to see how far we can leverage that into a relationship between Canada and South Korea, or Canada and Germany.
Okay, F-35 review. I know you've been asked it many times now. What is the holdup in the review process?
We're taking our time. I mean, the Prime Minister will make a decision when he's ready. The more you look at this, the more complex it gets. It's not slowing anything down. We have 16 aircraft in various stages of production at the manufacturer. There's infrastructure being built out at the 2 main operating bases, and when the PM's comfortable with making a decision, he'll make it.
Is it possible to get out of the contract after the 16?
I guess anything's possible, but that's not I don't think that's the direction we're heading, but there'll be a decision, and we'll make it when we're ready.
There does seem to be some interest, though, in a mixed fleet for obvious reasons. Arctic sovereignty, to have better alliance with the Europe, which we're trying to do through various ways. Is there interest in the Gripen, for instance, to having a few of those to help interoperability with other countries?
There is pros and cons with every option you look at. And you just have to make sure that the option that you pick has way more pros than cons. But there's no perfect solution. There is some solutions that are starting to appear that they may be better than others. But again, no decision's been made, and he'll make that decision when he's ready.
But a mixed fleet is part of what's on a conversation?
It's a possibility. There's lots of possibilities.
Is this becoming an issue with the president, though, as the prime minister deals with bigger negotiations? Is that something that will be a factor in the decision?
I don't think so. The U.S. cut its orders of F-35s this fiscal year in half. Right. So I don't know if that. I am not involved in those conversations. No, that's a Dominic LeBlanc, Prime Minister Carney conversation with the White House and their staff. So I don't know. But again, we're a sovereign country. We'll make our own decisions, and we'll stand on our own 2 feet.
I get that, but if it's being used as leverage, as a point of contention financially...
Don't know the answer to that.
But in your mind, as the person running this, that's not something you've been asked to consider?
No, I'm not considering that.
Okay. Let's go back to the idea of the mixed fleet then. What would be the benefit of that?
What would be a benefit of a mixed fleet? Well, you think about a toolbox full of capability. And it could be airplanes, it could be anything else. You want to have, instead of just having the crescent wrench in that toolbox, you want to open up that toolbox and look in there and consider what the threat is that you're facing and which tool in that toolbox can deal with the threat that you're facing. The immediate threat, the long-term threat. I mean, if you can go out and deal with the threat on day one, that's great. But what happens if you have to persist in that space for months and months and years? Is that tool that you use, is it the right tool to do that job? So that's a very, very simplistic way of looking at it. But we need to have a whole wide range of capability sets to deal with all the eventualities that we could face.
How quickly can you spend money? Because that is often the problem with procurement, right? It's getting the money out the door fast enough, and in this case, we're trying to meet some targets.
Yeah, I think we can spend it a lot faster. I mean, the budget will reveal exactly, where the money is going to be living. This agency has contracting authority, and we'll use. There's many ways you can do it. Like we could use commercial contracts in some cases, not in every case, but I'm being told, I'm not an expert on this, but commercial contracting is a lot faster. So I would hope that we consider using commercial contracts where appropriate as much as we can to help get things going. There's a whole bunch of different things we can do from the process and procedure side that I will be very, very focused on making sure we use the right process for the right procurement to make sure it goes faster.
Okay, I appreciate you coming in. It's a lot of money, so that's why people should care about it. And it's going to,
of course, and we want to get benefit jobs and stimulate ourselves while we spend this money.
Okay, nice to see you. Appreciate it very much. That's Stephen Fuhr, Secretary of State for Defence Procurement. You're looking at the scene of Russia's latest attack on Ukraine that killed at least 5 people. For some 5 hours last night, Russian drones and missiles rained down on the city of Lviv that sits just about 70 kilometers from Poland. It's one of the most serious attacks since the beginning of the war. And it comes days after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with over 50 European leaders to rally support for the war in Ukraine. EU leaders voiced support for the idea of using frozen Russian assets as collateral for an enormous $164 billion loan to Ukraine to fund its reconstruction. And the European Commission put forward 4 key defense projects, including a drone wall to block Russian aerial aggression. This renewed appeal from Zelensky as the United States turns its focus on other international security concerns, all while Canada looks to strengthen military ties with Europe in an effort to move away from reliance on the U.S. Andreas Kubilas is the European Commission's Commissioner for Defense and Space, and he joins me now. Nice to see you, Commissioner.
Good morning.
This past week, the European Commission laid out 4 defense projects meant in large part to better defend Europe against Russian incursions. One of them, I know you've been talking a lot about, is a drone wall to try and block aerial aggression from Russia. How serious is this project? Why is it needed right now?
Definitely after recent provocations, which we have seen of Russian drones invasion or intrusion into Polish territory, and now some drones flying around of Copenhagen airport, we understood several things. First of all, that our defense capabilities and detection capabilities of drones needs to be upgraded. And of course, second, we need to learn from Ukraine how to destroy those drones in a cost-effective way, not always using 1 million value missiles. And that is why we started to speak with, first of all, with frontier countries, with Eastern flank countries about possibility to build some kind of joint regional system, what we call metaphorically drone wall. But the wall, of course, will not be the wall which will be built, but it will be all the capacities, anti-drone capacities needs to be built in order really for us to be ready to defend ourselves against either provocations or even aggressive actions, real aggressive actions of Russia. What our intelligence services are predicting that Russia during next 3 or 5 years time can be ready to test Article 5.
Just on Thursday, Canada announced the Defence Investment Agency that is supposed to help purchase and deliver military equipment and is mandated to work more closely with Europe, with the UK, with France. How important do you think it is for Canada to be part of the Rearm Europe strategy and to consider buying more of its military equipment from Europe rather than the United States? Well,
definitely we're looking for strengthening all the possible cooperation with like-minded countries like Canada, like United Kingdom. We're very happy that earlier this year so-called security and defense partnership agreements were signed. Now, on a technical level, we are engaged both with United Kingdom and Canada on specific bilateral technical agreements on possibility for industries of Canada or United Kingdom to participate in this program of safe loans. And I hope that those negotiations successfully will be concluded very soon. So then Canadian industry will be considered like European one. And of course, all our industry also are looking how to increase cooperation with Canadian industry and to have possibilities to sell our products or to buy something from Canada. We're also looking how to strengthen our relationship, for example, with Ukrainian defense industry, which is showing remarkable results, very innovative, very much adapted to this modern warfare changes, which we can see in Ukraine. So a lot of things really are moving in parallel, and a lot of things are very important, where cooperation in between of EU and Canada will have very, very, very big added value.
Just so I'm clear on what this would allow, would this allow Canada to be sort of have the same access to the EU market as any other European member state? Would it allow European countries to use Canada as a procurement possibility? What would be the practical sort of benefit of this?
Yeah, definitely. Those possibilities will be created when those agreements will be signed. And as I told, Canadian industry, in terms of this, regulation of safe loans, will be considered like European one. So European member states, which will take the loans are available only for European member states. They will be able to spend those loans procuring industrial products from Canada in the same way as they are procuring from European member states, because regulation is limiting possibility to use those loans mainly for what we call European products. But according to those special agreements, technical agreements, Canadian products and British products will be considered like Europeans.
Interesting. You may also know that Canada is currently reviewing its purchase of F-35s, which obviously would make Canada even more dependent on the United States from a military perspective. There is consideration for Canada to purchase planes from Europe as well, the Gripen's planes from Saab. Do you think there would be a benefit for Canada to have aerial interoperability with Europe right now?
Well, definitely Europeans were good in producing, different types of weapon systems, including, air fighters, airplanes, and if Canada will choose, of course, we would be happy. And absolutely clear, interoperability also will increase.
Yeah.
And in terms of legal, obligations, perhaps also would be beneficial, because what in some cases our governments are worried about, that if we are procuring American weapon systems, that procurement is regulated by American regulations. We saw similar developments recently in Ukraine, when Ukrainians were procuring weapons which had American components, and then American administration was deciding, is it possible to use those weapons against targets in Russian territory or not?
Yeah. You mentioned Ukraine a number of times through our conversation. President Zelensky, as you know, is warning, and I guess this speaks to the drone wall as well as just what you're trying to do in terms of rearming Europe. President Zelensky believes that Russia will attack another European country. At this stage, and I know you have sort of medium-term goals, but at this stage, how ready is Europe for a war?
Well, we are really, we have strong defense capabilities. In some cases, of course, we see some shortcomings, like, with those provocations with drones. Maybe we were too late to react into recent developments in Ukraine, where drones became very, very effective instruments, both to attack and to defend. So we need to catch up. But what we need also to see is that Russia really is, turning all the economy to so-called war economy. They are producing a lot of weapons. Yeah. Like, as Mark Rutte, General Secretary of NATO, is saying, now Russia is able to produce during 3 months such an amount of artillery ammunition, which all the NATO member states, including United States, including Canada, including United Kingdom, EU member states, were able to produce only during a period of 1 year. So Russians have 4 times bigger capabilities to produce ammunition than we have. And that is why we need to really to ramp up our production in a very effective way. And we need to fulfill so-called NATO capability targets in the nearest period of time. Those NATO capability targets were agreed with member states quite recently during the last summit, and that is, for us, is very clear direction what we need to do.
I'll just end on this, Commissioner. As you certainly know, President Trump last week sort of changed his tone when it came to Ukraine, saying that he believes Ukraine can take back all of the land, the pieces of its country that it has lost to Russia, and he believes it can do it with support from the EU and from NATO. What does that indicate to you in terms of reaching a peace deal with Ukraine and the United States' commitment to that?
Well, first of all, perhaps also President Trump starts to understand that some kind of diplomatic approaches to Putin in order to convince Putin to sit down and to negotiate peace are not very effective, because since President Trump started all those initiatives, which really are important, to approach Putin, to approach Zelensky, we saw the only one reaction from Putin's side. He increased bombing of Ukrainian territory, both with drones, with missiles, with ballistic missiles. And it appears that Putin can understand only one language, and that is the language of force. So now, definitely, Ukraine has possibilities to return all the territories, but it will depend how much the Western community, both European Union and the United States, are ready to support development of Ukrainian military capabilities. If we shall find a way how to increase our military support to Ukraine, for example, using frozen Russian assets and giving all that amount of money through so-called reparation loan mechanism, which is now discussed in the EU, as possibility for Ukraine to increase defense capabilities, that can be a big game changer.
Commissioner Andreas Kubilis, we will leave it there. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.